Oh, folks, I blew it. Hey, let's start all over. Oh, unbelievable. Sorry about that. Okay. From beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, it is the Neglected News Report. I'm your co-host, Scott Mitchell, along with my brother, Kevin.
Good afternoon.
And it looks like we're getting off to a rip-roaring start. Oh, it's a slow day for me today. I just started the first of 9 days off work, and I'm just a little bit too relaxed today. But I did score some Van Halen tickets for the concert on September 28th, so... bonus.
I was at their original concert here, their first tour to Phoenix back in 1978. I saw them at the Celebrity Theater, which has a 5,000 people venue?
2,000.
2,000. Yeah, it's not even.
It's got a it's theater in the round. It's an indoor venue. And how did that place contain Van Halen? Even in those, especially in those days.
Imagine Van Halen with 2,000 only. Performing in front of 2,000 people.
And I've seen a lot of shows in that place. It's a
rotating stage, too, which is very cool.
I've seen a lot of shows there, but nothing. The loudest I saw probably would be Todd Rundgren in Utopia.
Yeah, I was there, too.
Yeah. But, I haven't seen them. The last time I saw them was 20 years ago, in 1995, with Sammy.
I would have liked to have seen him with Sammy Hagar.
They're great.
I mean, I like them both.
Sammy rocks.
But I just love the energy that Sammy comes prepared with.
And I listened to a few cuts off the live album they released this week, live from Tokyo Dome. It was interesting. I was reading interviews with Eddie, and he said that they were trying to figure out how to kick off the tour. They didn't have enough time to go in the studio to record a new album. And they were thinking about remastering some old demos that they had from the early days, and they couldn't get the sound quality up to par. And they were thinking, maybe let's do a live album. And they let Dave choose which show, because musically, the instrumental section of the band is usually pretty much the same every night. And he chose that one because they didn't have an opening act, so it was a longer show, and Dave was just spot on. And I hope he's spot on for the tour, because they opened up the tour on Monday night on Jimmy Kimmel's show. They closed off Hollywood Boulevard and had a concert there for 6,000 people. And they opened up with, I forget what song they opened up with. But Dave was so far behind the music. I mean, the instrumentally, they were tight. But Dave got so far behind, he finally caught up when they finally did Dance the Night Away, I think. He was spot on. It was when they did Hot for Teacher that they played that the next night, Tuesday night.
You know what I'll never understand is the Sammy Hagar. I saw an interview by Howard Stern had Sammy Hagar and David Lee Roth in an interview years ago.
I remember that.
And Sammy was just so bitter and mean toward David Lee Roth, and there must be something going on behind the scenes. And David Lee wasn't. Didn't give it back to him at all. He was just
Dave. I think it's a lot of it is Dave is going to be Dave. That's all there is to it. And I don't think Sammy likes Dave being Dave.
He was born on my birthday, by the way.
That's right, 10/10. He's what? He's 60. He's 61.
Yeah.
So almost you're going to be 54 this year. So yeah. Anyway, guys, enough of that. Just can't wait. We got less than 5 months or 6 months to go.
So I called Scott this morning at about
4 a.m. He didn't know I'd been up since 2 a.m.
So I called him at 4 a.m. and I said, "Hey, you looking at the moon?" He's going, "No, why? Should I?" And I said, "Well, yeah, we got the blood red moon, the full lunar eclipse." So we went.
I just walked outside. I was going to try to get a picture, but there's no way I could have gotten a good one with my phone.
We out west had, for some reason, these last blood moons, we've had just perfect, it was been a vantage point to see them, to see them. Although the one before this, you could see the blood red was a little bit more. It was more copper color.
It was kind of subdued on this one.
Yeah, it was more coppery the last time.
Yeah.
But so it led me to question. So I got it took I don't know how long, about an hour. I guess it was fully over within an hour, and. No, actually, it was still fairly eclipsed by the time the sun actually came up. But I started questioning, are we the only or one of the few planets in the galaxy, solar system, universe, I have no idea, that has these perfect eclipses? And so I started looking. Well, I pulled up a YouTube show from Coast to Coast with
Art Bell. That was the
Norrie, George Norrie.
George Norrie, yeah.
And he had these two British physicists on, named Christopher Knight and Alan Butler, and they're proponents. Now, don't think this is weird. It is weird. You can either believe it or not believe it. I don't know. The jury's still out for me. But what they do tell you is that there are some very interesting things about the moon that I wasn't aware of. Anyway, let me start with what their theory is. Their theory is the artificial moon theory, that the moon was actually created by someone 4 billion years ago.
Okay.
And the reason why they say that is severalfold. One of them is that the moon is pretty much hollow. They know that. It actually makes a sort of a bell-type sound when hit. It is, it doesn't have a core like ours does. And their theory, not their theory, one of the theories with the artificial moon is that it was actually made with the same material, Earth material. That it was created with core material taken from the Earth. And when the astronauts came back from the moon, they brought moon rocks back, and they were identical to those found in the Earth. Now, whether you believe it or not, I don't know. But the statistics that they gave about the moon was what I found fascinating. Well, anyway, so the logical question would be to ask, if it was made, who made it? Okay. There's three. They came back, and these guys are not wild-eyed, crazy guys. These are.
They don't make appearances on Ancient Aliens on Discovery Channel, do they?
No. They're physicists. They've got PhDs.
Are they friends with Eric von Däniken?
No. So they said that there's three suspects, and of course, God has to pop into everybody's mind.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
And the second one would be aliens. Using, they said, black hole technology. And
but if it was God that created it, it's not artificial.
Well, artificial meaning it was made by something rather than it just,
Okay.
Because the other theories are that the Earth was hit by a massive object billions of years ago, and the moon was created out of that collision.
Right.
Okay.
Right. It wasn't done by net. Well.
So it was natural in the sense that it was part of the whole, workings of the universe, rather than actually an intelligent somebody coming down and actually making it. That's what they mean by artificial.
Okay.
So there's God, there's aliens, and then their take was that it was made by humans, time traveling. So, well,
you never know.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's not the interesting part. That's just kind of giving you what these guys were all about. But here's the thing: the interesting things about the moon that I find fascinating. First of all, you all know moon doesn't rotate.
I didn't know that.
No, we only see one side of the moon.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. That makes sense. Yeah.
It does not rotate.
True.
So, in actually, Apollo 10 astronauts, there's some interesting stuff that they had to say about going on the dark side.
That's why there's no gravity there.
They have, which I won't go into. Let's put it this way: they thought they heard angelic music, and it's actually in
Apollo 10.
Yes, it's actually in the manuscripts. I read it, but anyway, there is no solid core. It doesn't rotate. It's exactly 400 times smaller than the sun, yet exactly 400 times closer to the Earth than the sun.
400 times smaller than the sun?
Yeah, that's what it says.
Seems to me it would be smaller than that.
I would think so. They said 400 times smaller than the sun.
That doesn't sound right.
Well, because the sun is only 3.6 times smaller than the Earth.
Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, it's exactly 400 times smaller than the sun, yet exactly 400 times closer to the Earth, causing a perfect eclipse. Perfect. The scientists said that is an impossibility. It says, well, we take it for granted it has been called the greatest coincidence in the universe. The moon, our moon, is like no other moon that astronomers have even discovered yet.
No, that is wrong.
What?
According to what I'm looking at here, the sun's circumference is 2,713,406 miles. And, okay, let's do it in kilometers. Hold on. 4,366,813 kilometers. And the sun's, well, that's the circumference. It's not showing the diameter. Hang on. Let me find the diameter. I could be wrong. I mean, I read the wrong numbers. Hold on.
Well, let's.
Okay, the diameter, which makes its diameter about 1.392 million kilometers. The moon's diameter is 3,475 kilometers. That ain't 400, or is it? I don't know. Let me do the math. You go ahead. I'll figure it
out. Those were the numbers that were given, and whether if they're 400 or 4,000 or 4 million, the fact is that to cause this perfect eclipse, it has to be the perfect size and the perfect distance away for it to eclipse as perfectly as it does.
No, it is right. I'm sorry. It just doesn't seem right. Okay, it is right.
And like I said again, while we take it for granted, only because we don't know anything different, astronomers say it's the greatest coincidence in the universe. Mm-hmm. And it, according to them, it was engineered to sustain life. Somebody 4 billion years ago said, basically, we're putting this here because we want you to know this isn't coincidence here. It's that big orb in the sky. Somebody's saying, hey, look at me and understand what you're seeing is extraordinary. Mm-hmm. Because no other place in the universe does this occur that we know of.
It's a big place in the universe.
If the moon was not its precise size and distance from Earth that it has been at each stage of the Earth's evolution, there would be no intelligent life here. It has to be. I mean, we've got the tides, the seasons, it acts as a stabilizer, which keeps our planet at just the right angle to produce the seasons and keep water liquid across most of the planet. All this stuff is due to the moon. Mm-hmm. We would basically be Venus without the moon. Like I said, it's as if someone put it there and it's saying, "Look what I did," and get this, all of its dimensions, everything about the moon is all done base 10. 10 fingers. We got that. Right. That's why I've always thought metric made more sense than what we use.
Yeah, and it's not that hard, folks.
It's so much easier to calculate using base 10. But anyway, I just thought this, with the eclipse last night, I just thought it was interesting. Mm-hmm. Now, you can think what you want, about that. Wasn't why I read it. I read it because I just find it extraordinary that that also. I started writing a book years ago. I never finished it. And I wrote about how the Earth is placed precisely where it needs to be in our galaxy. We're out in the suburbs. We're out in the far disk. We're in the suburbs, okay? Because all the nasty stuff happens inside the galaxy. Your black holes. There's a lot of violence that goes on. And not only is our solar system located that way, but the Earth inside our solar system is placed precisely where it needs to be. Jupiter gets the brunt of all the meteor impacts and all the asteroids and all that stuff. And it can handle it. Yeah, I mean everything about it is just perfect. That's why I I just don't think that's coincidence.
I no. There's too many things that are like that in creation that
and
make
then you get into DNA, incredibly complex, thing is DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Just everything, the idea that we came from this primordial goo is ridiculous.
I think it's just difficult saying DNA. I mean, the words that DNA represents.
It's acid. I know the last days represents. They know how do you pronounce it?
I don't know.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But anyway, it just got me thinking today. You know what? The more I learn about the universe, the more I believe in God. Yet scientists have been telling us through the the last 100 years or 200 years, especially with Darwinism, that we're just smart monkeys.
It's a deoxyribonucleic acid.
Yeah, but we've been told we're just no different than a regular monkey.
Just a little
smarter.
I was watching. It's interesting that they have these shows during Easter weekend. But I was watching this show on Discovery, History Channel yesterday, just biding my time. I got off work early yesterday. I was just killing some time and watching TV after putting groceries away, and it was about the history of creation in 2 hours. And it's always, I look at it, as with many scientific theories, and yes, evolution is a theory. It almost seems like, as I've gotten older, it looks like almost like they're grasping at straws. And I'm watching all this.
It's becoming more difficult for them to hide the truth.
Exactly. I mean, then the other theory that I put in the same category as that is string theory.
Well,
string theory to me is just
that's Michio Kaku's
a bunch of strings that vibrate at the right frequency to produce this or that, or it's just
Michio Kaku.
I know, it's just them grasping at straws to try to come up with a unified theory of everything.
Well, they came out a few weeks ago, and a lot of scientists are saying that the Big Bang didn't happen. That they're going back to the steady state theory that the universe has always been here.
Mm-hmm.
Always been here and always will be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just eternal. The whole Big Bang got started, don't you? It was Hubble. The scientist
back
Hubble,
in the 20s.
Back in the 20s, he noticed that when objects were moving away from us, the Earth, there was a red shift, and when things were moving towards us, there was a blue shift. Well, he noticed that the universe was basically red shifted.
Known as the Doppler effect.
Yeah. And that the more brightly red, the faster it's going. I believe. I think. I might be wrong there, but so basically, that's how the whole theory of the Big Bang got started. They said, okay, everything's expanding outward, so there must have been this huge explosion to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I know it makes sense. But again, we weren't there, so we'll never know. But anyway, a lot of scientists are coming out now and saying, no, we were wrong. It's something else.
Coming out of the closet.
It's a steady state for years is what everybody thought.
Right.
Everything was the same.
Yeah, but I love science. I always have. I thought I was going to go into.
I do too.
I thought I was going to go into a scientific field. I am kind of. I'm a computer guy, but it just so many theories.
What stinks today is everything's been politicized. People are using science now to further their own agenda. Hence, we have global warming, climate change.
This is why I have a hard time watching some of these shows on the science channels and history channels. You get these guys on there, these scientists on there, and it's just they get so excited about something. It's like, dude, take a shower, or rent a room.
And when someone says to you, the science is settled, that means it's not settled.
Yeah, and I have a hard time watching them because it's like, really? That's your theory?
Yeah, well, the first thing you ought to do is see who's signing their paycheck to begin with.
Yeah.
Because what's the one, the mover, the guy, the climate change guy who used to work for NASA. Now he's, is he?
Name.
Is he still working for NASA?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember the guy's name.
Anyway, he's being paid to be a mouthpiece for the climate change. So he's on the payroll. He's literally on the payroll. That doesn't mean he's wrong, but you gotta be a little suspect.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that wasted 20 minutes.
Was that? I don't think that was a waste.
No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking. I was just joking.
I found it fascinating.
I'm saying that only because when we do this show, sometimes time goes by faster than you think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't know.
I think it's important.
I was looking at that eclipse today, thinking to myself, is this unusual that this eclipse is so perfect that the distance and the size have to be such for it to be that way.
It's not a coincidence. It was made that way.
And I started looking into it, and it's not coincidental. It has to be that way for it to be, because there are eclipses. There's planets and moons throughout our solar system that.
Sorry, that's my notification on my phone.
That they have eclipses, but nothing. I mean, they're nothing perfectly like that. But go ahead.
I like the screaming goats.
I'm done with this.
But I mean, I forgot what I was going to say about that. But okay, let's say for instance that the moon was created by aliens. Who created them? It still goes back to that. Still goes back to that.
Everyone thought when the Big Bang was first unveiled that it would put a rest to there being a God. No, it doesn't.
No.
There's a thing called the prime mover. Prime mover has to get the whole ball rolling, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about this whole Indiana thing?
I do. I mean, it just... Where do we begin?
It's typical loony left.
And what do the Republicans do? They cave and
they don't do anything.
They cave on it and they rewrite and pass new legislation.
More pathetic? I don't know who's more pathetic, the lying Democrats or the limp-wristed Republicans.
I just folks, like I was telling Ken before the show, this is not about. It's not about gay rights. It's about destroying Christianity. Because I still maintain, and I've been saying this ever since all these things started, way back a few years ago, if you remember the bakery, I always forget where it's at.
It was in New Mexico.
It was in New Mexico, really? They refused to bake a cake for a gay couple that was getting married. Now, here's full disclosure. The gay couple were regular customers. They went in there to buy stuff all the time. It wasn't as if they were being denied service all the time. Just for the wedding, because the couple was a Christian couple, and they felt that baking that...
The couple who owned it were Christian.
Right. They felt that baking the cake would be against their beliefs as Christians. They would be taking part in the event that they disagreed with because of on religious grounds. Now, that gay couple could have just packed up and gone to another bakery. But no, they pressed the issue. They pressed it till finally this couple lost their business and their livelihood and their lives. No, I mean they didn't lose their lives literally. I think, but their livelihood. I mean, it just ruined their lives just because a couple couldn't go down to another store or bakery.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably an oversimplification, but let's look at this. Let's say you want your wedding catered. You want to do. They pulled pork sandwiches and racks of pork ribs and so forth, and you want a kosher deli to do it, and they refuse because they only do kosher. It's against their religious beliefs. So you sue them, and you trying to destroy them because that's the same thing. It's a religious belief, and these Christians think. Basically, the idea of 2 men and 2 women getting married is blasphemous. It's just,
let's take the religious aspect out of it. What if you're a black person who owns a bakery and someone from the KKK comes in and says, "We want you to bake a cake for our KKK rally," and you say no? Should you be forced to do it?
No, because it's against your conscience.
Exactly, and. This whole...
Because it has nothing to do with what we're talking... It's about trying to make Christians look to be hateful and bigoted.
It's not tolerance. It's not about tolerance as much as they want you to believe it is. Because if it was all about tolerance, how do you explain the PE teacher in Indiana who, the one big part of this whole thing is that Memory's Pizza restaurant in Indiana, after this bill was signed, the daughter, who is one of the owners of the restaurant.
Poor girl.
Yeah. She was blindsided by a reporter. You see, it's the media that's doing a lot of this, folks.
Oh, yeah.
And
by the way, this is a prime example of the media creating news. This was some little bimbo from ABC affiliate somewhere.
Yeah.
She had to drive 20 miles. Basically, what she did was she went out looking for a story. She went out looking for somebody who was going to deny gay people their gay wedding cake.
She blindsided this poor girl and asked, well, if a gay couple came in and asked you to cater their wedding, would you do it? Okay, first of all, pizza.
It's a hypothetical.
Pizza at a wedding?
Yeah.
Unless you're Oscar Madison.
It's only a hypothetical anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And she said, no, I have to say we can't. And that's as soon as that was reported, all of a sudden they started getting threats. They had a PE teacher in a nearby town said, so, who's with me to go down there and burn down Memory's Pizza? That's tolerance? That's freaking tolerance?
It's quite possibly criminal as well.
And I believe that teacher is under investigation and has been put on temporary leave without pay, if I'm not mistaken, because even liberal school districts are going to have to draw the line there, I think.
So we're constantly being told by the left to be tolerant. Who's the most intolerant people in the world that you? I mean, the lefties are. I mean, these aren't. They're not tolerant. These are fascists. And I'll tell you what, they continue to get more and more power. Yeah. It's going to get worse.
And by the way, the latest update on Memory's Pizza is they originally were going to shut down their business because of the threats, and then someone started a fund on the internet.
What is it called? Fund this or something. Like
yeah, it's a website you can do that. I've heard about it before. I just keep forgetting the name of it. Anyway, they have already since earlier this week they have raised $750,000, and this family only needs about $300,000 a year to keep the business open.
You know what I have to say to you, lefties?
Exactly. So and here's the kicker too. There have actually been gay people that have supported them and sent money and have tweeted about it.
What's her name? The one you like, the female?
Tammy Bruce.
Tammy Bruce. She was. I heard her a 5-minute blurb the other day. She really.
I heard it on Fox and Friends. Tammy Bruce, if you don't know who she is a talk show host. She is a conservative talk show host, openly gay by choice. Mm-hmm. She is also she's what is known as a classic liberal, which is today translated as conservative. Yeah. She voted for Ronald Reagan twice. She's pro-gun. She carries a gun. She's pro-gun, anti-gun control, pro-gun, pro-death penalty, but she's a Democrat. Which goes a lot of this goes to a quote I have here, and I'm not a fan of Rick Warren's, but there's a lot of truth in this quote of his. He says, our culture has accepted two huge lies. The first is that if you disagree with someone's lifestyle, you must fear or hate them. The second is that to love someone means you agree with everything they believe or do. Both are nonsense. You don't have to compromise convictions to be compassionate. I mean, let's look at this. First is that if you disagree with someone's lifestyle, you must fear or hate them. This whole term of homophobe, if you really break it down, you know what it means? Homo means the same. Phobe means fear of, or someone who fears. I fear things that are the same, or people that are the same, which is not true. It's just a made-up word, and it's caught on in the culture. And I don't fear or hate homosexuals. I disagree with the lifestyle, but here's the thing: they will not define it as a lifestyle. They'll just say it's just the way I am. Okay, whatever. I don't agree with it.
Well, all this is political correctness run amok, and political correctness is neither. It is political, but it's not correct. It is just a form of cultural Marxism. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. These are Marxist tactics. Mm-hmm. This is a way to control your thoughts, your speech, everything. Orwell spelled it out perfectly in 1984.
And the second thing is, to love someone means you agree with everything they believe or do. Both. Think about this. Let's put it in these terms. Do you believe that God loves everyone?
Yes.
Do you believe he agrees with everything they do?
Oh, no. Probably
No.
agrees with very little, actually.
No. You go back to when we were kids.
Well, it's hate the sin, love the sinner. You know, I mean,
Exactly. But go back to when we were kids. If we did something wrong, Dad would discipline us. He would spank us, send us to our room for a little while.
we'd be in protective services now.
Yeah, nowadays, yeah. Did he stop loving us?
No.
No. It caused a little bit of a barrier between us for a little bit of time while we're in our room, but after the time was up, he'd come in, sit down, and he'd say, do you realize what you did was wrong? Yeah. Gonna do it again? No. And you know what? We very rarely did it again. I'm sorry, everyone likes to say they were pretty good kids. I think Kevin and I were pretty good kids. We didn't get into a lot of the trouble that some of our friends did. We didn't get disciplined a lot because we didn't get into trouble a lot, and it works. He still loved us. He didn't stop loving us.
And I would say 90% of the people on both sides of the issue know better. They're just, everything is politicized.
Yep.
It's nothing is what it seems. This has nothing to do with gay anything. This has absolutely everything to do with shutting down the Christian right. That has everything.
And
they want to make being a Christian. They either want to get rid of you or they want to shut you up.
How else do you explain the fact that they're not going after Muslims?
Oh, Dave Crowder?
Yeah, David Crowder.
He did this video. I love him. He does a lot of these, exposés. So he walks into this Muslim bakery in...
Stephen Crowder.
Stephen Crowder. Yeah.
David Crowder's a Christian singer.
That's right. I thought so. Anyway, he goes, of all places, what Dearborn, Michigan, they call it, what, Deer, there's a joke they call it, Deerstan, like Pakistan, what do they call
Dearbornistan?
it? Dearbornistan. They call it Dearbornistan because there's so many Muslims. Well, anyway, he goes into several of the Muslim bakeries and acts, he does plays the part very well. He talks with, very, very flamboyantly. And he asks them if they'll make him a cake. And most of them said no, they wouldn't. And there's no outrage from anybody. Nor should there be. They shouldn't be, made to do that. But the left doesn't see a problem with it because they don't have a bone to pick with Muslims. They have it with the Christians, and they should be having a bone to pick with Muslims because the mere fact of being gay in many Muslim nations puts you at risk of execution. You pick your poison. You could be hanged. You could be stoned. You could have your head cut off. Just by virtue of being one. Yet they don't have a problem with that. And nor do they have a problem with the way women are treated in those countries either.
We could play that video if you want, the sound.
Well, I don't know. It's up to you.
I don't know. That's all right. We don't have to. But, it also goes to the CEO of Apple. Like I always forget the guy's name.
Yeah. Oh, what a hypocrite that guy. Yeah. I'll talk while you're looking it up, Scott.
All right.
This guy gets on
Tim Cook.
Tim Cook. Yeah. Oh, you get out of out of the frying pan and into the fire from Jobs to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Well, the guy, he's denouncing this whole thing that happened in Indiana. Yet, Apple does business and has plants and factories in countries that kill homosexuals.
And he can't even recognize his own hypocrisy.
Or he refuses to. Carly Fiorina even called him a hypocrite this week. And she used to be the president of Hewlett Packard.
Not only this guy, but he's always denouncing, perceived human rights abuses. Although he has the largest manufacturing base in China.
Yeah.
Where they have, by the way, they have suicide nets around the campus where the workers not only work, but they live. Because they work so many hours for so little money. Suicide rate is incredible. That's why your Apple phone's so cheap, by the way, folks. Mm-hmm. Because they're working for nothing. It's slave labor. But this guy would like you to believe he's the most. It's like the sage of Omaha, Warren Buffett.
Oh, yeah.
Walks around like this elderly old grandpa eating ice cream and petting kids on the heads. Oh, BS. He didn't get those billions of dollars.
It's almost like envisioning Francis Fox Piven baking cookies.
Yeah, they build these personas for these men who and women who make billions being ruthless.
But the thing that irritates me, and this is going back to the thing back during the 92 election, when Hillary was baked cookies, remember that?
Yes.
It's like they put on these sham performances, but people buy it and vote for these people and support them and whatnot.
Low information voter.
Are you people out there that stupid?
Low information
I don't
voter.
think the people listening are. But when I say you people, I mean generally speaking. I don't mean everyone listening.
Those are the same people who are sitting there, talking up this next election in 2016, Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton. Really, that depresses me so much. That Scott breathed a sigh just now. That's exactly how I feel. It's depressing. Yet there's so
many better candidates.
There's actually people having conversations in bars and in diners and so forth about that right now. Really? You ought to be having conversations about why we can't really get our own candidates, why we don't really have a choice. These aren't choices. These are the same two crap sandwiches being delivered to our table, and we have no choice but to eat them. Sorry.
The only choice is, do you want the one that's cold or the one that's warm?
Yeah, you want the female or the male crap sandwich. That's basically what you're getting.
If there's any justice, the candidate would be Ted Cruz.
Did we talk about this last week? The words you can't use in front of Hillary?
Yeah.
Oh, they're already positioning her.
Yeah. Remember we brought up Granny Granholm?
Yeah.
Jennifer Granholm, former governor of Michigan. That woman makes my skin crawl.
So yeah, this whole thing is, what you got to bear in mind is that on a daily basis, we're under a system of mind control. Mm-hmm. Our minds are being manipulated. We're being told what to think and how to think. Now, you can either fall in line like a good little sheep, or you can fight it. Now, fighting it's going to be problematic as it gets worse, because that's when gulag. Basically, what we have here is we have a system of control that wants to put us in sort of in a controlled state like communism does. Mm-hmm. And the first steps is what you're seeing right here with cultural Marxism.
I just had an idea too.
What?
Think of it this way: anything that the government does that is outside of what this is the federal government I'm talking about. Anything the federal government does that is outside the constrictions of what the Constitution says are the jobs or the powers of the federal government is nothing but control.
They have to right now. They are so afraid of the population at large because they're doing so much that's wrong.
Well, I'm talking about a lot of things you would never think of as being control. Welfare system. That's slavery right there. That's total control. Gun control. That's obvious. Some of the education system, the EPA, name it. The energy. We have an energy department, don't we?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. I can remember.
What are you, nuts? I think that.
The Nuclear Energy Commission.
The Asian woman runs that. I forget her name.
Yeah, Nuclear Regulatory Commission too. Yeah, they're all about control, folks. Regulations, controls.
Which we didn't even talk about this before the show started. What's your take on this Jade Helm exercise? That's.
In the cities where they're.
Yeah.
We talked about that last week briefly.
We got Texas, but more information's come out since then. We've got Texas, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, California, Nevada. Did I miss one? anyway, they're going to be having the exercises from July until September, and a lot of people seem to think that that's just a dry run for when the dollar crashes, that you're going to when people aren't getting their checks anymore.
What it basically is, they're bringing troops into major cities and infiltrating for like a weekend at a time or something.
They're hiding within the masses.
Yeah, they just want to see how people would react to having a simulated martial law as a prelude to true martial law.
So what's the point? What's the point in that? I mean, I'm 53 years old. I've never experienced anything like that in my whole life. Nothing like that remotely has happened in this country before.
Nope.
Nothing. Folks, unless you've lived at least 40 years on this planet, you can't recognize what the wrongness of things right now.
And unless you live for 40 years on this planet, you don't have any right to even comment on it.
Well,
unless you've done your homework.
Well, my point is I've seen a lot in this world, and the weird stuff that's coming down right now is crazy.
Well, the reason why I say that is because unless you're about 40 years old, you haven't experienced this. You don't know what it's really like to live relatively free.
Well, and the thing I worry about is the millennials who have been totally indoctrinated their whole lives with political correct
your kids
garbage and things they've learned in school and at the university and so forth, that don't even have the ability to question anything.
You're constantly having to deprogram your kids to a certain extent.
I talk down. I love my children. Don't get me wrong, but I have to talk down to them because their grasp of history and politics, current events,
I think Tyler's an exception.
And their civics and so forth. It's just so limited. I don't think they could tell you what the Bill of Rights is.
Tyler, I think, at least makes an attempt to learn it.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. He turned me on to Ron Paul, actually.
Doesn't surprise me. Kevin's son is 22 years old, and this kid he's got political views that you don't see in 40-year-olds quite often nowadays.
Yeah, I remember the 2004 election. He's talking. He was only 2004. He was 11, and he was just going around the house talking about, "Hey, Dad, you going to vote for Ron Paul?" And I'm like, "Who? Ron who?" And then in my travels around the city, I'd see these really cheap campaign signs for Ron Paul, and he was a libertarian. And back then, I was of that mindset. Oh yeah, libertarians, right, whatever. You're never going to win an election and so forth. But now, I'm not sure to this day if I'd still vote for Ron Paul because I like his economic view, but I think he's an isolationist, and I don't know if that really works in today's world. But anyway. This whole thing with Jade Helm, boy, if you've got a whole generation of people who don't even realize what their rights are, i.e., don't know the Constitution, don't know the Bill of Rights. Right now, we don't seem to be hearing much of an outcry on a daily basis. When we see assaults on the Constitution, because it happens every day with this administration. Mm-hmm. I think that one of the reasons why you don't hear any complaints is people don't know what their rights are. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to realize when they're taken away. The only time anyone's going to realize that something is wrong is when they're taken away.
And I think it's because a lot of people have a mistaken idea.
When they're taken away. And don't think that sounds paranoid, because this is not an exception. This is a rule in history. Governments clamp down on their people. Always.
And I think the reason why people don't know what their rights are is because they're under the mistaken assumption that government grants rights. Government is meant to secure the rights of the governed, not create the rights.
See, that's an idea that a European can't even grasp.
Nope. They're all socialists over there.
I heard something interesting several months ago. I forgot what show I was listening. And someone said that the difference between an American, a true American, I'm not talking about the young Americans who aren't part of this anymore, and a European and an American, is that before doing something, a European will ask permission from their government where an American just does it and
Yep.
and waits to be told no. They just do it, and that comes from our founding documents. That's our framework.
Yep. We never lived under a feudal society.
Oh boy, getting real close.
Yeah, I know.
Little fun here. You can talk more about Jade Helm if you want, but did you hear that ISIS has cracked down on men wearing skinny jeans?
Yeah, get the hipsters. Yeah.
And if they're found with music on their phones, they can be arrested for 10 days. And it's a parent slap in the face of the hipster crowd. I didn't realize they had hipsters.
I say it's about time.
Did you know they had hipsters in the Middle East? I didn't.
I wouldn't surprise me. I say it's about time that someone cracked down on the hipsters.
Cracked down, no pun intended.
Yeah, exactly.
Skinny jeans.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry, I just don't like hipsters. They just think they're so cool. They think they're better than you.
I can just see. I've got this mental image of an ISIS convoy coming upon this little hipster in his skinny jeans, and just, excuse my language, bitch slapping him. Just
wiping that goatee off his face.
You can't do that to me. Oh yeah, here, lay down. Let me get my machete out.
Yeah, well, it's just I just don't like hipsters. I'm sorry. I just don't. Take your irony and get out of my face.
I didn't even know what a hipster was until somebody explained it to me, and then as they were painting the picture, then I got it.
Yeah,
it was like, is that what you call those people?
A lot of them work at Starbucks.
Oh, which I refuse to go in anymore.
Yeah, well, I've got some Starbucks coffee to finish. After that, I'm not going there. I'm going to go to Dunkin'.
Oh, you can get good coffee anywhere.
Cheaper, too. Half the price.
Dutch Boys. Go to Dutch.
Yeah,
is it Dutch Brothers or
Dutch Brothers? The guys at work, we've got, right down the street from work, we've got a Dutch Brothers and a Dunkin' Donuts. I had some coffee from Dunkin' Donuts earlier this week that with their mocha, it was awesome.
I like Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't like the overpowering coffee taste. Dutch Brothers. Dutch Brothers.
Dutch Brothers, yeah.
They have a card that you punch. So if you drink 8 or 10 of them or whatever, you get
they
free.
have flavored coffees like mocha.
Yeah,
because I like mocha.
Yeah, and they're really happy too. It's like, are you putting me on? It's too early for your such a happy.
They probably drink a lot of the coffee there, and it's required of them. You have to have 2 cups of coffee before you clock in.
I mean, they've got happy music going on. They're just
that's just wrong.
Yeah, they're just
and you know what? I mean, Starbucks plays the music they play. I actually like a lot of the music they play. The CDs they release at Starbucks. I do like a lot of them.
You know what I just realized? I didn't just realize it, but 2 good examples. We just talked about the CEO of Apple. What's his name again?
Tim Cook.
Tim Cook, and what's the CEO of Starbucks?
I don't remember.
Now we're told that all the greedy capitalists out there are conservatives. No, au contraire. These are big time
Howard Schultz,
who's going to lecture us with our cup of coffee on white on black violence,
right?
Which basically doesn't happen very often, but you
could
scream that at the top of your lungs and nobody would believe you. But
he used to own the Seattle Supersonics.
Yeah, well, guess what? There are no Seattle Supersonics anymore.
Yeah, where are they at now?
They're down in is it Oklahoma? Is that where they went?
They're the Oklahoma
City?
Thunder.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The OKC.
Yeah, but the thing is the liberals don't know they're hypocrites. They don't even know it half the time, or refuse to acknowledge it. I mean, they got to know it. Come on.
Well, the thing is it's an emotional decision. It's all based on emotion. And as you know, I hate to conjure up one of our favorite talk show hosts, but Rush, he says it's the most gutless decision you ever want to make because it's not based on really any thought. And,
not rational thought. It's based on heart.
You know, I've got a friend, and I don't ever want to say his name, that I served in the Army with, who's a flaming lib, lives up in Seattle of all places. And he's a lawyer.
The guy I think it is?
I mean, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
Yes. And if they're excoriating somebody all the time, whether it's Scott Walker, he hates Scott Walker because he's from Milwaukee originally, this guy.
Whatever.
And everybody, after all said and done, everybody that they disagree is a racist. Mm-hmm. It's like, are you? Come on, you're a smart guy. I mean, I went to I studied Russian with this guy and served with him in the military. He's a lawyer. He speaks like I can't tell you how many languages. He's not a stupid guy. But everything is just this knee-jerk. If you don't agree with him, you're this. You're a racist. You're a homophobe. And everything falls along these predictable ideological lines. Mm-hmm. If all I have to do is look at what he stands for, and I just choose the opposite. And I know that's where I'm at. Not only where I'm at, they would like you to believe that they're at least 50% of the population. No, they're not.
No,
maybe 10.
They're about. Well, I think they said that. Between conservatives and liberals, it's 40-40, and the remaining 20% are kind of like in the middle. Might be right. I don't know.
Another thing I heard this week on Russia's show, there was an effort by George Soros and David Brock of what's the organization they run? Blah 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 blah.
I'll let you know.
Truth Matters. Media Matters.
Media Matters, yeah.
They own Media Matters. Well, anyway, they kicked off this campaign. Of course, it wasn't. Nobody knew this at the time, to get Russia off the air. Well, they had this huge letter writing campaign into all of Russia's sponsors, and his sponsors started putting the heat on him until they did an independent study, and they found out that far from there being tens of thousands of people writing it ended up being a handful of people. There were trolls. They're trolls, is what. So that's what he was saying the other day on the show. He says, "Don't think you're outnumbered. We outnumber them by far. It's just a very what word can I use? It's a very not complicated, but
complex.
No, it's very sophisticated what they do. They use computers. They make it sound like there is this huge amount of people out there that are unhappy or whatever, and it's not true.
No,
because trust me, if there was millions of outraged libs out there, they'd be in the streets because that's what they do. They like to.
Oh yeah, they love yelling. I'm outraged.
Street theater, and they like to smell bad. I mean,
that's the hipster contingent of the liberals.
And by the way, the Occupy Wall Street was just totally AstroTurf. It was all AstroTurf. It was all
artificial.
It was all planned. It was all financed. George Soros had his hand in that as well.
Yep.
Now,
of course he did.
In retrospect, I will agree with them on one thing: that the gap between the very rich and the middle class is
widening.
It's widening. The only people that are benefiting from this economy are the uber rich.
Yep.
And by the way, we just went over 93 million people out of the workforce this week.
Yep.
And yet, the unemployment rate continues to fall.
I did.
What's wrong with that picture?
I did a little. I posted something on Facebook. When you take the 93 million that are now in the workforce and you divide it by the number of people who are of age to be in the workforce, the true unemployment rate comes out to just under 60%.
Yeah. And 56 million of those 93 million are women. Mm-hmm. And a huge amount, what is it? Blacks make up 26 million or something.
What was the number I came up with?
Now, so you the logical question would be to ask, if there are that many people out of the workforce, why don't we see more homeless people? Why don't we see more riots in the street? Why don't we see more unrest? It's because they're still getting checks. Mm-hmm. They have their smartphones. They got their flat screen TVs. They're still getting money from the government. And how is it that they continue to get money from the government? It's because the government prints money. But the day that happens, and many people think it's going to be in October, by the way, that the Chinese and the Russians unveil their gold-backed currency, and the world starts fleeing the dollar, that's when things get ugly.
Start buying precious metals, folks. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have some spare money, a few $100s worth. $100. I'm going to buy some more silver.
I bought some silver bars this last week.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to get some more next week. But if you're of the opinion that this House of Cards is going to continue ad infinitum, you're really deluded. I mean, there's no way it can continue. And the reason why you're seeing China and Russia and other countries buying all this gold is because they know that. They know that. And China tells the world that they have 30,000 tons of gold. They estimated that it's far more than that. And
They're never going to tell you the truth.
And Russia's right behind.
They never do.
And the following day that the world goes off, that takes the dollar, destroys the dollar as a reserve currency, is the day our world turns upside down. And get ready for that, because it will happen.
And the price of gold and silver has stayed relatively stable for a few months.
So you wonder why we have exercises like Jade Helm taken off in July and August.
They're getting ready
when
for
they're predicting 2015 is the year the dollar crashes. I'm not saying it is, but I ain't saying it isn't either. So the Jade Helm has nothing to do with preparing for war in the Middle East. It has everything to do with preparing for war with the American people.
Mm-hmm. So, 4 things you should stock up on, folks: guns, ammo, precious metals, and food. And water. Food and water.
Just saw today that the government, in fact, I saw the government document. They're applying. They're trying to get they're contracting out there with arms dealers for non-lethal weapons like flashbang grenades, bullets that don't kill, things like that. And they're going to be taking bids on contracts coming up here. What's that tell you? Don't listen to what the government tells you. Listen to what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Watch what they're doing, I mean.
Yep.
In what they're doing, you've heard, should I talk, do we have time for the red, blue, and...
We've got less than 3 minutes.
Yeah. You know what the red list is?
No.
What they do now with warfare is they identify the enemies before they actually go in. They have intelligence out there that they... The red list are people like you and I who have talk shows that don't speak too kindly about our government and so forth. They're the gun owners. They're the guys returning from Afghanistan. Those are people on the red list, and those are people during wartime that are taken out right away. They're not even before the war begins. They're taken out. Those are the red list, and the blue lists are those who take out those on the red list, who are eventually killed afterwards. This is how all communist dictatorships take over. It's a Hegelian dialectic. They create a problem, go in there, and they clamp down and they kill all the people they perceive as their enemies, and then they kill the people who killed them. Mm-hmm. So what do you think about that? That's the red and the blue list, and there's one other color, which are the one. Is it yellow?
There's going to be
the ones that actually are in positions of power afterwards.
There's going to be a lot of people on the red list in this state.
Yeah, us in Texas. Well, what do you think it's by coincidence that they're in Utah, Arizona, Texas,
Colorado,
they're the West.
Exactly.
We still have a grain of independence.
They threw in California to add a little bit of false balance.
No, you know why they did that?
Why?
Because of the gangs down there.
Oh, well, yeah.
The Mexican drug cartels are down there, so they will present problems.
Well, folks, that wraps up another show. It's getting dangerous out there, more and more so each week, folks.
Hey, we're in trouble when we can't wear our skinny jeans anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's such a bad thing.
I don't want to see you in skinny jeans, Scott.
They don't have skinny jeans that could make me skinny enough. And we won't talk about the picture of me at the spring training game on Monday. Although I did I got some FaceTime on TV.
Did you?
Well, yeah, one of the guys that went to the game with me on Monday, the next morning he came in and he showed, he had a still from the screen, and they went online and showed the video. It was the game.
What game was it?
Angels and Mariners. Mariners won 5-3, and he showed the video, and it shows me. It was the left field camera. We're in the right field line, about 25 to 30 feet down the right field line from the first base. From first
a
base.
camera can't miss you. You're not a small man.
Yeah, I know. And the camera from the left field was showing the action at first base, and we were only like 6 or 7 rows from the field, and I was there with my buddies. I had a big white shirt on, so it was like Moby Dick. All right, guys, we will see you next Saturday, same time, same bat channel.
We're out.